Well, now at 5, as the race for Georgia governor heats up, we're following some backlash tonight over a candidate's visit to a local restaurant.
Republican Rick Jackson's stop at Toast on Lenox in Buckhead is sparking some conversation about small businesses and their involvement in politics. Atlanta News First political reporter Doug Reardon is live outside that restaurant tonight. So, Doug, what exactly happened there?
Yeah, good evening, guys. Well, Jackson showed up to this restaurant here on Lenox Road in Buckhead. Toast on Lenox, a very popular spot, and posed for a now deleted Instagram photo with one of the co-owners. It sparked some defense of the restaurant, but it also sparked a lot of backlash for people who felt this was a political statement. In a since-deleted online post, Republican nominee for Georgia Governor Rick Jackson posed with the co-owner of popular restaurant Toast on Lenox in Buckhead. The backlash was immediate. Customers and activists said it amounted to an endorsement of Jackson and threatened to boycott the restaurant. Toast is black and woman-owned, and many said Jackson's policies against diversity initiatives and his anti-immigrant stances didn't align with the ethos of the Toast clientele. Others defended it and said they welcomed the open dialogue. That included James Brooks, who said he frequents Toast in Midtown and will continue to.
I know that Rick is a Republican, and I know that, majority of the people that frequent that area or frequent Toast here are Democrats. But I just think that that's really absurd. That's absurd to have a problem with the fact that a Republican came to a Democratic establishment. Is almost as bad as saying, a black person can't go to a white-owned establishment.
When we called Toast on Friday, the employee told us managers had no further comment on Jackson's visit. But in an online post, the restaurant made it clear they do not endorse Jackson and said, quote, "We often take photos with customers, public figures, entertainers, and athletes. The photo that was shared was simply a picture taken during his visit to our establishment." Nonetheless, it sparked a debate between the two gubernatorial hopefuls.
This guy's going into, a black-owned restaurant owned by, a woman, and he is saying that he wants to criminalize people who promote DEI programs. This is a guy who has gone into a black barbershop but says he's going to be Donald Trump's favorite governor.
My opponent wants to cut down businesses and cancel them just because I visited a restaurant. Well, that's just wrong. We are not going to do that.
And the Bottoms campaign did get in touch with me today. They were very clear about this, that Keisha Lance Bottoms was not calling for a boycott of this restaurant or any others. And of course, we heard in the statement from Rick Jackson's campaign as well that he supports all small businesses, including black-owned and women-owned businesses. We're in Buckhead. Doug Reardon, Atlanta News First.